Seriously, my dealership just fixed the transmission.
We all know how it can be to go to the wrong place for transmission repair. Made up of over 800 pieces, the transmission is the most complex part of your car. So bring it to the transmission experts at AAMCO. AAMCO, always the right fix. AA MCO.
Get a free vehicle courtesy check today. Restrictions, limitations, and exclusions may apply. See amco.com for complete details. 75 East, 2000 North in North Logan.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Monday on This Morning, America's First News, the latest breaking news and analysis, plus the political challenges that await President Biden as he tries to push through some $6 trillion in new spending. Also, the class of 2020 was denied a traditional graduation last spring because of the pandemic. Some schools are trying to make that up, find out how, and making your classic car dreams a reality. Monday on This Morning, America's First News. Monday morning from 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
The following is a paid program of commercial time on KVNU. The information, offers, and claims are solely those of the sponsor and not the opinions of this station, its affiliates, management, or employees. It's time for the Garden Guide with your host, Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden.
New research suggests that people are more likely to eat vegetables if they have a tempting name.
What would life be without homegrown tomatoes? Only two things that money can't buy, and that's true love and homegrown tomatoes.
From gardening to landscaping.
Today we are going to try and create garden eyebrows. Kind of like the flowers are sprouting directly from your hair. That makes sense.
Go! Phone lines are open at 753-KVNU or 800-369-KVNU.
Kind of like eating vegetables.
It's the Garden Guide, now on KVNU 610 AM and 102 FM.
And welcome to the show. 8:06 on this Saturday morning will feel right. And along with Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden, we were just beginning off air and talking about how this has got to be probably so far this year the best weekend for getting out and doing all sorts of projects around the yard, and the weather's finally starting to cooperate a little bit, Mark.
It's nice when it cooperates. We've had such odd weather. I mean, I guess it's been more normal, though. I mean, this year, some cold, wet, some warm and dry, but the wind has been really difficult. It's just dried everything out. So just like last weekend, I was looking at my lawn, and parts of it were really green, especially the part that I planted last year. That new part with that new grass in there. Oh, it looks so good. It looks so good. But other parts of my lawn, the older grass, the bluegrass was stressing. I mean, it was just really starting to stress. And I was like, I wonder if there's something going on, or maybe it's just water. And then I was like, let's see what this storm on Monday does. Let's see how that kind of pans out. And then we got that storm on Monday into Tuesday, and by Wednesday it was really starting to green up. And then I looked at it this morning, and it's just like, it's all green. Yeah, it's like good. So it was just stress between the wind and just the dry conditions that we've had, through winter and through spring. And I'm seeing a lot of samples. Gardeners are bringing samples in of shrubs that are kind of struggling and plants that are really having a hard time. I saw like 3 or 4 samples of Oregon grape yesterday that just was brown and sad. And they're like, is it a disease? Is it an insect? And I'm just like, I think it's just water. It's like we went from October until pretty much now, and it's been
this week.
It's just been dry. We had some snow through the winter, but not a whole lot. We had kind of a dry fall. We didn't get whole lot of rain, and we didn't get a whole lot of snow, and so those plants will go for 4 or 5 months without hardly any moisture if there's no moisture in the soil, and then they'll just not look good in the spring. So it has a lot to do with that.
And we always wait to turn on the sprinklers, and we had waited on the sprinklers and thinking, okay, we'll get through. We'll get through it. But we started watering our fruit trees. Because as we started seeing the blossoms come on, especially it seems like our apples, this is going to be an apple year for us. And I thought, man, you know what? I just don't want those to dry out. So we started drenching them.
And you don't have to water them a lot, like frequency. Just a good deep watering along every now and then. They'll be happy as can be. I was out last night with my daughter, and we were doing some planting, and I got my new colonies of bees installed. So that was exciting. Oh. Yeah. Unfortunately, I lost both my colonies last year, so it was time to put some new bees in. But we were out planting carrots and beets, and we got some chard planted, and we planted some kohlrabi, which I had to cover so that the deer wouldn't eat because I don't have my fence finished yet. I gotta put the fence back together. But the blossoms on the peaches and the nectarines are just loaded, and they look so good. Those are just bright double pink. Yeah, they're so pretty. They're so pretty. And then the peach tree that my daughter and I planted last year, which is a Saturn peach, so it's like one of the donut peaches. It's like flat on the top and the bottom, they're so good. So we planted that last year, and usually the first year they don't produce, but we had like a couple fruits last year, and so we got to taste it. And it's like, this is amazing. This year the buds are not open yet, but they're ready to pop, and it is absolutely covered, and it put probably 2 feet of growth on last year. So for a brand new tree, it did really really well. So we're very excited about that one as well too. So then I drove down here, and it's like all the trees are blooming. There's pink trees and there's white trees, and it's a gorgeous time. Yeah.
And you can't say really it's odd, because that's what normal is in Cache Valley.
That's right.
That we are just odd, and that's normal here. And looking ahead, we've got a chance of some showers, light chance of showers Saturday, Sunday, and into Monday. Yeah. But then it's going to warm up and back into the 70s for the end of next week.
I can't imagine a nicer May than just low 70s for the whole month.
Yeah. Let's just hope it's great.
That'd be just perfect. Yeah.
We're hoping for good weather for next weekend for Mother's Day. So
yeah.
And with that, we've got a lot of things to talk about on the show today, taking your calls. 753-5868. You can call in right now to get your calls answered, or 1-800-369-5868. As we look ahead, here we are in May now, and it's definitely time to start talking gardening.
It is. We've got our compost tea brewing, and so this is kind of traditionally our first weekend for our compost tea party. And so the tea party, we have the brewers going. I've got a double brewer this year, and you can come in and get a gallon or a 2.5 gallon container, and then you get free refills all summer long. So the way that the program is set up, you come in, you buy a 1 gallon container, 2.5 gallon container, and then throughout the summer you can come in and fill that up for free anytime you feel like stopping in at Anderson Seed and Garden. If you come in 5 times in the same day, we might give you a funny look and go, you're kind of using a lot of that. But with the free refills, the idea is you keep a container in the back of your car. Anytime you're downtown, you just go, I think I'll swing over to Anderson's, grab some compost tea, and we'll fill it up for you and send you out the door. And so it's our compost tea party rolling this weekend. Greenhouses are full, so we've got gorgeous hanging baskets right now. This is actually a really good time to get hanging baskets before Mother's Day, so that you don't come in and find out that we are out next weekend, because you just never know how things are going this year. We're running out of stuff really fast, and sometimes we can't replace it. But come in and check out all the beautiful hanging baskets we've got right now. Greenhouses are full of annuals and perennials, lots and lots of vegetables, and here it is, 1st of May. Today is the 1st of May, so traditionally our last frost is between the 15th and the 25th of May, so we're getting really close to being able to plant everything out there. But you can still get all your hardy crops planted: strawberries, asparagus, potatoes. We've got lots of those in stock. Great selection of onions. Our onion plants came in again day before yesterday. So they're looking really good. But I wanted to do kind of a special promotion today, because usually I do my gardening class in the wintertime, and I was able to do it again this year, but we held it out in the greenhouse so we could physically distance properly for everyone that was able to come to the class. But we always start tomato plants in February, and for me it's kind of a tradition to do my dad's favorite tomato, because a lot of times we can't get them from other growers, so I have to grow some of them. And his favorite tomato is called Brandy Master, and Brandy Master is a cross between pink Brandywine and Beef Master. And so it's a really large tomato, but it's pink. It's very mild in flavor, and it's a great quality just for slicing and eating. I'm sure you could can it. We make salsa out of it with other tomatoes mixed in with it and stuff too. But this is a really unique variety. It's called Brandy Master. Big plant, large fruit, produces like crazy, and it's been my dad's favorite for quite a few years. So I grew some, and normally starting them the end of February, they are quite mature. It's the best way to describe it when the time comes to plant them outside. So I've kind of babied them indoors. They've been under artificial lights. They've been getting compost tea for the last month or so. They're really happy. I've got about a dozen plants. If anyone who's listening today wants to come in and tell me a story about an experience you had with my father, I would be glad to give you one of those plants. So today I'm going to be giving away my Brandy Master plants. If you'd like to stop in at the store and share a story with me, you may have to wait a minute because I'm sure I'm going to be surrounded with people asking questions today. But if you're willing to wait, I would be willing to wait to visit with you as well too. And I have about a dozen Brandy Masters that I'd love to share with some people so you can enjoy my dad's favorite tomato as well too. So we're gonna try and do that today. I thought that would be kind of fun because they need to find homes here pretty soon. They're getting pretty big, so they need to be outside. They can't fit under my light system anymore. So
for today only.
For today only, I'm giving away some large 4-inch Brandy Master tomatoes, and they do look really good. They don't look like a normal tomato plant, though. They look more like a potato, so they've got more of a potato leaf to them. But I guarantee you they will produce very nice tomatoes, so it'll be fun. Yeah, it looks like we got a caller. Yeah,
we do. We can start out on the phone lines. We have Tammy, who's holding on the line. Tammy, welcome to the Garden Guide.
Hi, Mark.
Hey, how's it going, Tammy?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Not too bad today. The weather's been amazing, so we've been enjoying that nice warm temperatures after all that rain. Really needed that rain on Monday.
Yes, and today is like a perfect gardening day.
It really is. It really is. So, what you got planned for today?
Well, I've got some planting I want to do. I'm not sure what is safe to put out yet. I've got geraniums, petunias, marigolds, and I know pansies are safe.
Yep, pansies are good. Geraniums and petunias have some inherent frost tolerance built into them, and so they are probably good down to about 30 degrees, maybe 29. So a light frost, and the geraniums and the petunias would be just fine. The marigolds, they'd be toast. So don't do the marigolds yet. Let's kind of watch the weather and see. Last year, our last frost for the spring was on the 23rd of May. I double-checked my calendar before I came down, and it was the 23rd of May last year.
And that was a hard frost?
It was not a hard frost, but it was enough frost to damage stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so, I think the year before that, it was pretty close, like around the 20th of May, and then the year before that, it was the last weekend of April. I think it was about the 28th of April, and then we didn't have frost in May, which is like very, very unusual. So I would just guarantee that we're going to have frost sometime between the 10th and the 20th of May.
I've got a tomato that's probably about, 8, maybe 10 inches tall. I was going to put it in my garden, but I also was going to put walls of water around it.
Yep.
And I'm wondering, is it going to be warm enough today to heat up that water to protect it?
It should. So the wall of waters will give you about 10 to 12 degrees of added protection. So that would be great. In fact, I've been thinking the same thing. It's like, I think I need to roll the weed barrier out, get the ground warmed up, and then start planting tomatoes, because I've got aquadomes that I use for all my tomatoes and peppers. And,
I have an aquadome too. Should I use that
aquadomes are like my favorite. I love the aquadomes.
Okay.
Yeah. So they last longer, they hold up really well, and they'll give you about that 10 to 12 degrees of added protection. So you could put any tender plants out as long as you cover them with the aquadomes. And for me, the greatest benefit of putting the aquadomes out is the deer can't eat your plants. So.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Side benefit.
Know about deer eating plants.
Yep. Side benefit of the aquadomes is the deer will not eat them. So.
Okay, I have a lilac tree question. Why do some lilac that are not have very many blossoms, and then other years they've had loaded, but all of a sudden they quit having so many blossoms?
Yeah.
What would be the cause for
There-
that?
there
Or
are-
what can I do to prevent it?
Yeah, there are a few contributing factors that will decrease the blooming of your lilacs, and one is if they're in a spot where they get more shade. So the more shade they get, the less likely they are to bloom. So as the area gets shadier, say you got some trees nearby, the shadier it becomes, the less likely they are to bloom as fully as they would if they were in full sun. Another potential possibility is if you prune them at the wrong time, you'll prune all your flowers off. And so if you do any fall pruning or spring pruning on the lilacs, you'll lose blossoms. And so we only prune our lilacs right after they're done blooming. So usually in June is the best time to prune your lilacs, because if you prune them late in the early summer, in the early fall or late fall into winter, you'll take all your blossoms off.
Okay. So with the pruning, what if does cutting the dead flowers from last year off, does that help
It does.
the blossom?
It does. Yeah. So you want to deadhead them. You want to do some thinning so they're not so thick and are shading themselves. And then, as much as the lilacs just do great on their own, if you feed them a little bit each year, they'll be more likely to bloom more as well too. So use a balanced fertilizer, triple 16. If you really want them to bloom, magnesium sulfate is great. A lot of rose experts use mag sulfate on their roses to keep them blooming. So magnesium is a natural bloom encourager, so that would be good. It's also really good for hydrangeas, any of those blooming shrubs to keep them blooming. But I would definitely prune, definitely fertilize each year, and make sure they get plenty of sun, and prune at the right time.
Okay, one more. Actually, I have two more questions.
Yeah.
My honeysuckle vine, it needs trimmed. If I trim it now, am I going to cut all my blossoms off?
Honeysuckle's a little later bloomer, so you should be fine doing a little trimming right now. And then I would do the same thing. After you're done pruning, give it a shot of some slow-release fertilizer, encourage some new growth, get some blossoms set, and should be good.
Is spring better than fall, or is fall the best time to prune them?
With those vines like that, you'd be fine either way.
Oh, either way, okay.
Yeah, either way. Yeah.
Okay, I've got peas in my garden. They're about 6 inches tall, and they're not very green. How can I green them up?
It depends on what's causing them to go yellow. It could be because it has been dry. It can be caused by a little high compost content. If you get a lot of steer or poultry manure, it can cause the peas to yellow a little bit. And
yeah, it wouldn't be that.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Which fertilizer should I give it, or what is the best thing to green them up? Should I do some 16-16-16?
I'd probably do like a liquid fertilizer with some micronutrients in there. So probably some of our local fertilizers, Iron Combo Chelate would be great.
Oh, I do have some of that.
Yeah, mix that in with just any of your liquid fertilizers. If you've got Nutri-Green or all-purpose from Bicor, those would be great. Grow Big from Fox Farm would be excellent. There's some really good balanced liquid fertilizers that you can use, but add a little bit of that Combo Chelate in there. It'll really green them up because it's got all the micronutrients. You might be lacking a micronutrient.
Okay.
So
that sounds good. Thank you, Mark.
You are so welcome, Tammy. Hey, thanks for calling this morning.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Well, Tammy had a lot of questions this morning.
Well, and there's a lot. I know a lot of people wondering, what can we plant?
Yeah.
What should we hold off on?
One of her questions is a very important one, though. If your shrubs bloom before Memorial Day, you can't prune them until after they're done blooming because you'll take all the blossoms off. So if it's a early bloomer and lilacs are kind of right on the borderline there, you will prune all your flowers off if you prune in the late summer, early fall through early winter. And so you don't want to prune them until after they're done blooming. So forsythia for sure, beauty bush bloom really early, lilacs definitely one of those. And so you prune those after they're done blooming, and that's your pruning season. Okay. So yeah, very good.
Now a lot of people are asking, how do you prep your garden? Because this is the rototilling season.
Yeah.
And what can you start planting already? Yeah, we could still see some frost coming in the next couple of weeks, but is it safe to get most of those seeds in?
Yeah, a lot of things we could start planting now. So, our vegetable growing guide and our seed list has like a planting guide in there that recommends the best time of year to plant things. So, your hardy crops right now are peas, spinach, lettuce, radishes, onions, cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, kale. Those are all good to go because they're super hardy. Even if it freezes, snow, cold, they can handle it. But we're also moving into like our second phase of the hardy crops. So like carrots, beets, potatoes, chard, parsnips. Those can all be planted right now. We planted our carrots and our beets last night. I was hoping to do it like a week ago, but we just didn't have enough time. And then the rain hit on Monday, and then we couldn't do anything for a couple days till it dried out. But carrots and beets and chard we planted last night, and I use a coconut coir mulch to go over the top of them. So I took a couple blocks of the coconut coir, threw it in a wheelbarrow, added some water, basically had about 4 cubic feet of coconut coir when it hydrated up. And then I once I put the carrots and the beets out there, we kind of raked them just lightly. And then my daughter and I, we just put that coconut coir over the top,
right
about a quarter of an inch over the whole thing. And it's amazing how it holds the moisture there. The seeds germinate a lot faster. So if you're struggling with getting carrots to germinate, if you're struggling to get your beets to come up, a lot of times it's because the soil is not holding the moisture. It's been dry, it's been windy, and stuff just doesn't want to germinate. And you just barely cover those up. So the soil dries out really quickly. Well, we put that mulch of the coconut coir over the top of it. It's very inexpensive. It does an amazing job. But it acts kind of like a filter. So when you water it, it doesn't wash the seeds away because it kind of breaks up the water. So it's like watering through a filter, so it just kind of keeps the moisture right there where you want it. And then as it dries out on the surface, it holds all the moisture down below, and the carrots just come up like crazy. Yeah. So the coconut coir helps a bunch. So we can plant all of those, probably to the point where we could probably start planting corn and beans, because they're going to take a week or maybe longer, 10 days to come up. And so in the next week or so, you could start planting some of those tender crops from seed, because they're going to take a while to come up. And by the time they come up, hopefully we'll be past our last frost. But, it is Cache Valley. You never know.
We could
never know.
Looking at a blizzard in June.
You never know. So Dad would always take a chance. End of April, he'd plant his corn, he'd plant his beans. And if it came up and it froze and they got damaged, he'd just plant new ones. He'd just plant some more. He didn't really care. But other people, they get a little uptight if their plants get frozen. But Dad is just like, I've got plenty of seed. I'll just plant some more. So
now, what about some of your squashes, like your zucchinis, crooknecks?
Yeah, right now would be a good time to start those indoors. So you could start those inside, because in about 10 days, 2 weeks, they're ready to transplant out.
Put them out.
Yeah. So if you start them like this weekend or the first part of next week, they'll be perfect to transplant out about the time we should be past frost, and so you could transplant them out. Otherwise, if you're putting them right outside, I'd probably still wait a couple weeks. Yeah, they just it's like I told Tammy, if you put an aquadome or a wall of water on them, they'll be fine, but otherwise not so much. Hot caps will give you about 2 degrees of added protection. So, for a very light frost, hot caps, no problem. They'll do a really great job with your plants. They're inexpensive, but you're really only getting about 2 degrees of extra protection. If you take a step up and improve your plant protection equipment, then you would get like the Grow It Now plant protectors. So instead of being like a wax paper hot cap, they're made out of a hard plastic, and so they generate more heat and they have more insulation capacity. And so those are good for about 5 degrees of added protection. So they'll probably get you down to 28, 27 degrees and still protect the plants on the inside. So they do a really great job. They're harder plastic. They'll last for years. You can reuse them over and over and over again, and they fold up, which is really nice. So once you're done using them, you can just like undo a couple little clamps on there, and they'll just like lay flat.
Fold down.
Yeah, and so for storage, you don't have to stack them somewhere. They're just like flat, like a thick piece of paper, or like cardboard, and you can just like put them on a shelf and just kind of layer them that way. So that works great. And then your aquadomes or your walls of water are going to give you closer to 10 to 12 degrees of added protection. So good thing to know. if you are using a frost cloth or a frost blanket or just covering your plants with plastic, again, they'll only give you about 2 degrees of protection. And the key is to make sure that you don't let the fabric touch the plants. If the fabric touches the plants and you get some frost that settles on the fabric, it'll freeze right through the fabric. Yeah, so you got to be really careful that way. So like some sort of hoop or a stake that will hold it up over the top of the plants, that would be the best way to go. Yeah.
Back in the day, I remember Dad used to always just throw out the big old plastic sheet, the tarp, and it was kind of you just never knew what it was going to say.
Sometimes it worked, sometimes it did. Yeah, sometimes it didn't. And that's where touching the plants is critical. So you got to get it up off the plant so it doesn't damage those, because it will freeze right through the plastic if it's colder than 30 degrees. So,
coming up after the break, we need to talk about how to spruce up the lawns, because now that we're finally getting a little moisture, great time to be able to fertilize
and where everybody's trees are in bloom. We want to talk about fire blight and fruit elimination too. So those are 2 critical items we got to talk about for sure. Yeah.
And we can take more of your phone calls, 753-5868, 1-800-369-5868 for the KVNU Garden Guide. Back in a moment. With your KVNU News update here at the bottom of the hour, I'm Will Feelwright. It's brought to you by the Duck Hunter. Well, Utah Republicans are choosing new party leadership during their annual state convention. It's the state's first major in-person political event since the pandemic began last year. The Salt Lake Tribune reports that delegates are choosing new leadership to guide the party and also hearing from top Republican officials, including Governor Spencer Cox. Party leaders are also considering a resolution to censure Senator Mitt Romney for voting to impeach former President Donald Trump. The convention was held in the Maverick Center in West Valley City and began on Friday. The party held its 2020 convention virtually. Meanwhile, Democrats in Cache Valley are also gathering to select new leadership. Having canceled their 2020 county convention due to the coronavirus outbreak, the Cache Democrats are meeting virtually to refocus their efforts on the 2022 midterm election campaigns. The online event is also a swan song for outgoing Democratic Party Chairman Danny Buse, who is stepping down from his post to make room for fresh party leadership. In a farewell message to county delegates, Buse said that while they didn't win any races, they came close, and they gave every Democrat in the county a candidate to vote for. Now, in addition to precinct delegates, the Cache Democrats are also selecting a new chair and vice chair for their local party. Well, that weather forecast calling for clouds and cooler temperatures as we work our way through the weekend. We could even see a chance of some showers coming on Sunday and into Monday. Even a possibility of some thunderstorms. That storm is expected to last through Tuesday, then begin to clear up as we head towards Wednesday and Thursday, with temperatures getting back up close to 80 by the end of this next week. Get the latest on these and other stories at CacheValleyDaily.com. I'm Will Feelwright for KVNU News.
From ABC Sports. Hi, everybody. I'm Todd Ant. With the Celtics looking to cement their playoff seeding, Jason Tatum used his magic to turn the impossible into reality.
Jalen for Tatum at the free throw line, spins on Keldon Johnson, step back, tough long two is good.
The call on WBZ, Tatum tied Larry Bird's franchise record for the most points scored in a game with 60, including 31 in the fourth quarter and overtime combined. Boston erased a 32-point deficit to stun the Spurs in OT, 143-140. The Celtics also stayed a half game up on the Heat for the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference. The Kings spoiled LeBron James' much welcome return for the Lakers.
Kicks to Halliburton, touch pass to the corner, out of time. Davis to beat the buzzer. He's got the triple.
On KHTK, after missing 20 games with a high ankle sprain, James' 16-point effort fell short for L.A. Sacramento topped the defending champs 110-106. This is ABC.
This is Dr. Red, chiropractic physician with Red River Health and Wellness. Have you been suffering and you can't find any answers?
I actually suffer from depression and anxiety. I also have had severe IBS problems. I actually had gone into a different doctor of mine because I thought maybe I was starting to go through menopause and had problems sleeping, and I wasn't resting well, and just everything felt wrong.
Red River Health and Wellness can help.
I am now back at work. It's easy. I get through things effortlessly at work, and it's been a life-changing for me. I'm sleeping better at night. I have full energy all day. I don't have those slumps where I need a nap. It's been amazing. It's been a good journey for me.
Our goal is to teach you and educate you so you know how to manage your condition a lot more effectively, and you know what to do and what not to do for the rest of your life.
Call Red River at 855-55-RIVER to schedule an in-depth consultation absolutely free. All appointments can be done remotely by FaceTime, Skype, or phone.
Hi, this is Chris Wilson at Wilson Motor Superstore next to the Olive Garden. If you're looking for a pre-owned vehicle, now is a great time to buy during our clearance sales event. We have reduced prices on over 250 pre-owned vehicles with over 30 vehicles under $10,000. We can help you find the right vehicle. Check out our inventory online at wilsonmotor.com or drop in for a test drive at one of our 2 great locations, 328 North Main or next to the Olive Garden.
Wilson Motor Company, we make car buying easy.
It's the Garden Guide on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
You know, and I was just checking early, Mark, and we actually had just a little rain that came through this morning. It just left us with a trace.
Yeah.
But yeah,
we'll take it.
We'll take
it
a little bit more this weekend, so we'll see.
Every little bit counts, so we'll take it. But you know, the valley has been looking a little dry.
Yeah.
But then that inch of rain, I'm like looking at the mountains right now, and you got the snow up on the top, and it's just really greened everything up. So that's nice. That's what we like to see for spring here in Cache Valley. It's such a beautiful place, and you can't beat it when the conditions are correct. So.
And if we could keep getting these storms, even if it is every 2 weeks or so, with a good half inch, 3/4 of an inch of rain, that
would really help.
Definitely help.
Yeah, it would really help. So I've got a lot of people coming in the store. They're very concerned about water usage. They want to conserve. I mean, people are very conscientious. It's like, how can I keep my yard looking good, but still conserve water? Use less and still keep it looking nice and not lose plants. I think that's what a lot of people are concerned about. It's like, if I have to really cut my water back, am I going to lose plants? What can I do to keep them going? And there's some really great options that you have, especially for turf, that can decrease your water consumption by 30 to 40%, which is a huge savings. Is a huge savings. So we use a product called Hydrotain on our lawn in the summertime. It lasts about 90 days, and the great thing about the Hydrotain is it will help your soil absorb and hold the moisture so it doesn't evaporate off. So it's going to help with water absorption. So once it's applied to the soil, it just like sucks it right down into the soil, but then it holds it there where the plants can use it. So instead of watering on, say, Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays to keep the lawn looking good, we can take one of those applications out completely and water just on Mondays and Thursdays. And so if by cutting out one of your watering applications through the week, for a lot of people, that's going to be a 25 to 40% savings on water, because you just are watering less frequently, but you're still getting the same results out of the water that you're applying. So the Hydrotain's an amazing product like that. I've got a new one that's called Back to Green. If your lawn's kind of struggling from the stress that we've had the last month, it just hasn't been wet enough, and you really want to perk it up without fertilizing it, without making it grow more, but we just want to green it up. The Back to Green's great too. That's made locally here in Utah, and it's got a similar soil penetrant to it with like the Hydrotain with some iron. So it's got some iron, it's got some compost, and it's got that water, that wetting agent is what they call it. It's a wetting agent, so it helps the water penetrate into the soil, and it just absorbs and holds it there. So there's some really great options for lawns. You can use the Hydrotain in flower beds. You can use it in your vegetable garden. You can use it like everywhere. It's totally safe to use. It's potassium based, so it's a natural product, and it really does a great job. Yeah, it really does a great job. So, but we need some more phone calls. So,
yes.
Yeah, 753-5868, 753-KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868. So, in the last half hour, I talked about a little promotion we're going to do today. So, I've been growing some Brandy Master tomatoes, which is my father's very favorite tomato. And I've got about a dozen extras. And if you would like to try Brandy Master, you're probably not going to find it grown anywhere else, because most of the greenhouses that we buy from that grow various tomato plants around here. They don't do Brandy Master. And so I've got some plants. But to get one of those, you have to come find me at the store today. And I might be difficult to find because I'll have a crowd of people around me. But if you come and you share a story with me of experience you had with my father, then I would be happy to share a tomato plant with you. So you get to try one of his very favorite tomato plants. It's called Brandy Master. So if you'd like to do that, I'll have about a dozen today. We'll see how long they last. And I would love to hear some stories about Dad. That'd be great. And we do have some callers now. Yeah.
We've got Todd first on the line. Todd, go ahead. You're on the Garden Guide.
Good morning, guys. How are you doing?
Morning. Great. How about you, Todd?
I'm doing great, except in our backyard, Mark, same spot as always. I don't think the grass is I think it's stressed, but there may be something going on. It is deader than dead. And when we thought it was dry, and we watered it last week, and it just got drier and drier.
We have seen some disease popping up already this year. So we've had some various diseases showing up. So that's a possibility if the soil's staying moist, but the grass is dying back. That is a possibility. We did see some late sod webworm damage last fall that has carried over till this spring. So if it's a spot that has not greened up at all since the snow melted in March, then that is a possibility as well too. Great thing about spring is it's a good time to plant some grass seeds, so you could get some new grass in that area and get some new blades coming up there very quickly if you get a little bit of new grass in there. But those are two things that we've seen. My lawn was stressing like crazy, but with this extra water, and we just got our sprinkler system turned on as well too. But we haven't watered yet this year. It has greened right up with that inch of water we got on Monday. So if it's not greening up after that inch of water on Monday and you watered it last week, there's probably something else going on as well too. So.
Okay, it was green and then it went.
Then it browned up. So at that point, I would say probably not insects, because we will not see any insect damage this year until probably end of June, 1st of July. So it's probably disease. So you may want to cut a little sample out of the turf, right along the edge of the damage, and bring it in. Let me take a look at it, see if we can figure out if it's a particular disease that's causing problems for you right now. And we've seen a lot of it this year. With the odd weather conditions, we've seen quite a few diseases popping up. So.
Okay, I'll bring that in this week sometime then for you.
Sounds good.
And I want to tell you how much I like the compost tea since I missed it last week.
The compost tea is the best. Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah. I run you out of supplies.
I actually got a lot more 2.5 gallon containers in this year just because of demand last year. And so we're actually selling the 2.5s faster than we are the gallons, because everybody that has purchased in the past, they're coming in and going, ooh, I'd rather have a 2.5 gallon, so I don't have to fill it up as much, So
less trips.
Yeah. Fewer trips, exactly. So, but
I already made one trip and got a 2.5 gallon earlier, and then I got two more a couple weeks ago.
Oh, that's great. That is awesome, Todd. That's awesome. So.
All righty. Well, thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep. You have a great weekend, and bring me that sample, and we'll take a look at it.
Thanks. Sounds good. Thanks, Mark.
All right. See you, Todd. All right. We've got phone lines open, 753-5868, 753-KVNU. And, Will, we got another caller.
Christy's holding on the line. Christy, welcome to the Garden Guide.
Hi, Mark.
Hey, how are you?
Good. I have two questions. I got some topsoil yesterday and put around places where my grass is kind of sunk and my tree trunks have come up. I know you talked about putting new grass in my whole yard, but I can't remember what you told me that takes less water and does better. I was trying to remember what the name of it was.
So last year we killed a section of our lawn, about 1,000 square feet, and we replanted in there because we had over the last 20 years we've had a bunch of pasture grass that's kind of snuck in. We had some annual bluegrass that just wasn't looking good, and so we killed that section off and replanted it. And this spring, it has been the greenest part of my lawn. It has been absolutely gorgeous. And the rest of my lawn, the older bluegrass that's probably 20 years old, it was stressing from the lack of water. But this new section was thriving with the same amount of water. So it stayed so much greener with less water than the rest of my grass. And what we did is a blend of turf-type rye and Kentucky bluegrass. And so I used our Anderson Select mix, and then I mixed a really nice blend of perennial rye in with it. And it is just withstanding less water and more stress better than the rest of my older lawn. So these newer grasses will do a great job. The other option would be to use our Mark's Mix. Mark's Mix is even more drought tolerant because it has fescue in with the ryegrass. And fescue is like very, very drought tolerant, handles shade really, really well. And it's super green. It's like dark green. So that would be a great option for you as well. So the Mark's Mix, even more drought tolerant, but very dark green. It's a little coarser grass, so it's a little stiffer, so it's not as soft to walk on. And the grass that I planted is like right next to the house, right where we walk out there. And so we wanted something a little softer. So I did a bluegrass rye blend, which would be like similar to our Colorado Premium Mix. And it's amazing. It's so green right now. It looks really good.
Well, it sounds like one of them would work really well.
Yeah, I think either of those.
I'm sorry?
I said either of those would be great, yeah.
Okay. And then I was also wondering, when I have a garden, I do the traditional make a ditch and let the water run down. Is there a better, faster way? Because I work full time, and I don't like watering my garden at night. You know,
understandable.
So
understandable.
I was trying to ask what would be a faster, better way to do it.
Yeah, for years and years and years, we used to furrow irrigate like that as well too. So we'd run a little furrow right next to the plants and then run the water down there. But you have to be there to watch, because if the water gets down to the end and then it breaks loose, then it's all over the place and makes a giant mess. So what I have done, and it's a little bit more expensive, but it works amazing, is I've got soaker hoses that go down every single row in my garden. So I've got a soaker hose that goes down every single row. And then I've set up kind of a timer system with a splitter on there. And so I've got a hose splitter that splits it into 4 hoses. So it takes my one hose and splits it into 4. And then I've got quick connectors on those, and I just connect them up to 4 rows of the garden. And then when I go to work, I just turn it on and just let it run the whole time. You can put a timer on it, so if you only want it to go for like 4 or 5 hours, and it'll just turn off automatically. And then when I get home from work, I'll switch them to 4 other rows and turn them on and do basically the same thing. And so it takes me all of 10 minutes every day to water like my whole garden, because it takes me like 5 minutes in the morning to hook up 4, and then 5 minutes in the evening to hook up 4 more, and then it pretty much will water most of my garden that way.
Do you have soaker hoses in the
We
store?
do. We've got 25-foot, 50-foot, and 75-footers, and it has made watering so much easier. And I'll do that, like once every 5, 6, 7 days. If it's really, really hot in the summer, sometimes we'll water about every 4. But with the soaker hoses, it uses less water. So you're using about 70% less water than you would with furrow irrigation, just because it saturates more efficiently, and it will penetrate right there where the root system is on the plants, and you'll use less water. You'll be more effective, and it's going to save you hours of time.
So when you talk about 25, 50, so forth, do I just need to measure the rows?
Yeah.
How long I want it to go down?
Exactly.
And then you can help me kind of organize how I want to do it?
You got it.
Okay.
All right.
I will be in today then.
Wonderful.
I got to find something faster.
Absolutely.
Been better. More
Absolutely.
efficient.
Oh, for me, it's like a lifesaver, because seriously, I can turn it on when I leave for work, and then I'll switch it when I come home, and I'll just let them go for 4 to 6 hours at a time, and it works perfect.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much.
You are
Have
welcome.
a great day.
You too. Thank you.
And with the
How
soaker
about-
hoses, also we found in our flower beds that it also cuts down on your weeds too,
Oh, yeah,
because you're
yeah.
not broadcasting out that water that the weeds just
all
say,
over, all
"Thank
over
you
the
very
place.
much."
Yeah, all over the place. And you said weeds too. I've got burr buttercup. The goat's heads coming up all over in one section of my yard where we've got kind of an open spot, and they're sneaking over into my patio area that has like pavers and stuff. I got a spray out there this weekend, so I'll probably do like some kills all extended out there because it'll kill what's there, and then the pre-emergent in there will stop the seeds from coming back. So one application will do it for the
Take care
whole,
of it for the season.
for the season pretty much.
Nice.
Yeah, I just don't have them coming back because those stupid goat heads are awful. They're terrible. Okay, got another caller.
Another caller, Starwin on the line. Welcome to the Garden Guide, Starwin.
Thank you. How are you, Mark?
Doing great. How about you?
Doing good.
Good.
I have a question about tulips. I planted some last fall, and most of them didn't come up. The ones, even the older tulips, seem to be short, not very tall. The flowers are close down to the ground, and I don't know what's with the tulips this year.
I would suspect it is the dry winter, and so we've had this problem before in the past where many years ago I planted about 700 daffodils, and it was really late in the season, and the ground was close to being frozen. It was kind of crusty on the top, and I planted a whole bunch because we had some extras left over. And I was going to water them, but then the weather kind of changed, and it turned really cold, and I was afraid I was going to like do some damage, and so I shut the water down and put the hoses and stuff away, and they didn't get watered. And they went pretty dry throughout the winter time because it wasn't a super wet winter, and the ground had frozen at that point that they didn't get watered. And in the spring, out of those 700, I only had like 30 that bloomed, and they just didn't do very well. So what we usually tell people when you're planting in the fall is make sure and water them really well after you get them planted, so there's some good soil moisture there for them. And then if the weather is not cooperative and you're not getting a whole lot of water, make sure that when the ground freezes, there's good soil moisture out there. This year there was not good soil moisture when the ground froze, and then we didn't get hardly any snow, and we didn't get a whole lot of rain, and so they just were really dry through the wintertime. And that's probably why they're not blooming. I can almost guarantee it. So the bulbs should be fine. They'll come back. They'll bloom again next year, but just make sure they get good soil moisture when the ground freezes in the fall. And now is actually a good time to fertilize them, even though you've got just leaves up and not much blossom on them. It's actually a good time to fertilize the bulbs as well too.
Okay, I guess that was my question. They come back next year.
They will. Yeah. If you've got leaves that have come up but they just didn't bloom, the bulbs are fine. They will produce again next year. But when they are dry through the winter, they just can't develop the root system and develop the flower buds like they would normally.
What about the ones that have not come up?
The ones that have not come up, they may have dried out completely, and they may need to be replanted. So I'd maybe dig down in there where you planted them and see if the bulbs are still intact. But where it's dry and the soil's really dry, the bulbs have like a lot of moisture in the bulb, and osmosis will actually pull the water out of the bulbs into the dry soil around them, and it will desiccate the bulbs. They'll just dry up, and they won't do anything.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I do appreciate your help.
No
Thank
problem. No problem. I wish I had a better answer for you, but I'm pretty sure that's what's happening with the dry soil this year.
All right. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for calling, Darwin.
Mm-hmm.
And that frees up the phone line, 753-5868, 1-800-369-5868. We have Rachel joining us on the line. Rachel, welcome to the Garden Guide.
Hi, thank you. Hey, I just had kind of a random question, I guess, but it is about an old horse trough that I talked my dad into giving me. He was getting rid of it because it was rusting out in the bottom.
Yeah.
And I want to use it for a planter box.
Okay.
So it's about 14 feet long and a couple feet deep. And I had someone tell me about just putting some empty, old, like milk jugs and used up, apple juice jugs and stuff like that to kind of take up space in the bottom.
Okay.
And so that we didn't have all that dirt, especially
Like
if
soil all the way through. Yeah, you probably won't use the full 2 feet of soil, so that does make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I am wondering, my husband and I were talking about maybe putting something between the containers and the soil, and I thought maybe some of just like the ground covers, stuff that you put in flower beds.
Oh, yeah. You want good drainage. Are there holes in the bottom of the watering trough?
There are, yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because we want good drainage. We want the extra water to go through. One of the best things you could do is big chunky bark, like a large bark, to like fill in the gaps in between there, because then it's going to allow for good drainage. It'll actually allow a little bit of air circulation up through the bottom, which is really good for the roots of the plants. Okay. But then those like milk jugs will take up space, and that's all we need it to do is just take up space. But then the roots could actually grow down in through the bark for some of your bigger plants, and they would love it. That'd be great. I'd just fill that bottom like 8 inches, maybe 10 inches with your containers to kind of fill up space, and then fill it in with bark, and then put your nice planting soil over the top of it. And don't use garden soil. Don't use garden soil. Use a nice light topsoil mixed in with like a raised bed mix. So we usually will tell our customers that are doing that to go with a raised bed mix, which is really light and fluffy and nice, but it can get expensive to do big areas with it. So you want to add about a third, maybe 30%, 40% of a light topsoil in with the raised bed mix. And the combination of the two is like perfect. You get a little bit more dense soil, but it's not so dense that the plants struggle in it. So it would work perfect. Yeah.
Okay. And about how much, as far as inches go, what would you recommend for the depth of the soil?
Oh, I would go 12 to 14 inches.
12 to 14. Okay. And then if it, like I said, this trap does have some holes in the bottom, but they're more just kind of on one end. Do we need to, punch a few extra holes throughout?
It would be good.
That drainage?
Yeah, it would be good. We don't want water puddling down on the bottom, so they don't have to be like giant holes, but you just want it to leak that excess moisture out. And the bark's going to help pull that water out. It's going to sit down on the bottom, and then it's going to find a way out. And so that would work great. Yeah, it should work great.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Good luck with your planter, Rachel.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good one. We got time for one more?
Yeah, actually, we're going to try to squeeze in two more.
Okay.
Anne is joining us next on the line. Anne, welcome to the Garden Guide.
Hi, Mark.
Hey, how are you?
Good. I have a spot in my flower garden on the southwest corner of my house where I'm having trouble with anything growing. It's never in the shade. It's always in the sun. There is a trellis there, but I just can't get anything to grow.
Yeah. We need to try and condition that soil and build that up. It's usually a soil condition when you can't get things to grow in there. The best thing that I would suggest is a product called Garden Max. My dad was struggling growing some flowers in one of his flower beds, and over the years it had just been depleted by use, and stuff just was not growing very well in there. And we put the Garden Max in there, which is a soil conditioner with a compost and some slow release fertilizer and some natural, biological organisms to help build that soil back up. And we put that in there last year, and his plants were like 2 or 3 times the size of what they've been. And so it would be great. It's a good way to, you just kind of work it into the top part of the soil, and it works its way down in. That would be a great option. You might want to take a couple photos and bring them in so I can take a look at it and see what's going on, and maybe there's something else that's happening, but probably need to condition that soil to get something to grow in that area.
Okay, and what would be something good to plant at the trellis?
Oh, you could do, there's some really nice vines. The honeysuckle would be great. You could do, grapes potentially as well, too, if it's a full sun location. And, the honeysuckles would be great. Trumpet vine would be nice. Clematis, as long as you can mulch the roots so the roots stay cool and moist, that would be great there as well, too. So.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ann.
That will help.
Yep. Have a great weekend.
And we have Lori joining us on the line. Lori, we've got about 30 seconds if you can squeeze your question in.
Go, Lori.
Okay.
And go ahead.
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, hi, Mark.
Hey.
This is Laurie. I'm just have a quick question about grass, and my beautiful lawn has what I call crabgrass growing in it, and it's still looking pretty bad. It's probably 2 feet across. I know you talked a little bit about having to kill out your lawn. I'm hoping that I won't have to do that. Not positive that it's crabgrass.
If it's there right now, it's probably a tall fescue or a pasture grass, and we're not going to be able to kill it without killing the rest of the grass. But there are some solutions. So sneak into the store, and I'd love to visit.